Welcome to Distorted Opinions. I'm Kayla, and this week I am joined by two spectacular guests. I'm very excited to have these two on the show. If you've listened to any of the recent episodes, you probably heard me talk a couple of times about the Guitar League of Central Mass and the meetings that I've been attending monthly. And I am joined by Jim Horseman, who's one of the co-founders of Guitar League, and Paul Murphy, who is the chapter leader for the Central Mass chapter of Guitar League. Welcome to the show, Jim and Paul. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you kindly.
Yeah. So, I thought we'd talk a little bit. Obviously, we're going to talk quite a bit about Guitar League tonight, but I thought we'd start with some conversation about, obviously you two play guitar. We know Jim definitely plays guitar because he's got one sitting behind him there. And Paul, we know you play guitar as well.
Yep.
So I thought we'd talk a little bit about, what got you into playing guitar and, what types of music you typically play. And then from there, we'll talk a little bit about how the Guitar League got started, because I'm sure that's going to tie in a little bit to how you started playing guitar and what type of music you play. So Jim, maybe if you want to start.
Well, it's a long and sordid tale, might I say.
Okay.
Actually, I've told this a few times, so maybe some folks, maybe not your viewership, but anywhere else I speak, I start like this. Basically, I grew up as a drummer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. And I've been in bands, barroom bands, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I've probably played 2,000 gigs as a drummer since junior high school. None of them any good, just barroom bands, nothing, but but you reach an age in your 50s, and I don't know, did I really want to hoist all that stuff around and be in bands and drinking beer until 2 a.m. and, so I was like, I finally got out of the band business. But, if music's in your blood, it's in your blood. So I figured, well, I wanted to have something I can do on my couch for Christ, So, of course, I started it with bass because bass is part of the rhythm section, you know what I mean? So
Sure.
I've always kind of heard bass as I played drums.
Sure.
And, I thought, gee, how difficult can that be? It's only 4 strings, right? Well, I've learned that lesson. There's a lot more to bass than meets the eye, for sure, particularly good. Well, then I segued into 6-string acoustic guitar. And then, you don't know what you don't know. So I started playing that. And it's like, oh, my God. I mean, you see what depth there is on that daggone instrument,
Right.
Well, old dog and new tricks. How can I most quickly get functional a little bit? And I didn't want to do all the YouTube things and take lessons from a 16-year-old and So my best way to learn something is somebody just show me a few things. I'll show you whatever I've got, but you show me some stuff and then I can pick it up quicker,
Sure.
Well, that's essentially how Guitar League started, because having been in bands as a drummer, I knew some guitar players. And so I asked him, would you mind if we just kind of got together and just show me a few licks on some night where you're not working, you know what I mean? Some Monday night or something like that. So yeah, sure. So anyway, that morphed into regular meetings and we'll talk more about that. But that's how I got started in my late 50s. So old dog and new tricks. And that's essentially how Guitar League got started. And I call myself the longest running rookie of the Guitar League.
Nice. Well, I mean, and that brings up an interesting point, which is that, I think, and I've had this conversation actually with people that are my age as well, that they feel like not being young, not being a teenager, that they can't start playing guitar because they're too old to play guitar. And I don't think that's true. You can pick up an instrument at any age. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. And, you don't have to be good at it either, as long as you enjoy doing it, playing the instrument and getting to learn new things. I think that's the important part. And, my dad, he started playing guitar. He was in his 40s when he started, and I started playing because of him. And we started almost actually kind of in a guitar league like setting where there's a local music school, and they had a guitar ensemble that they did every semester. And it was usually about 6 to 10 guitar players, and you'd get together and there was somebody that ran it, and we'd learn a few songs. Everybody would pick a song, and at the end of the semester there'd be a performance and we'd perform the song. So while Guitar League I don't think existed when I started playing guitar, that's kind of how I got started as well, was playing with other people and just picking up a guitar. And my dad, who was, older than me, obviously, started kind of playing the same way, and it was at an older age than I think a lot of people seem to think you need to be able to pick up an instrument. So I think that's really great.
It's interesting. As it turns out, now when we started this, we didn't have any age definition of anything.
Sure.
But it turns out, and there's now 9 chapters of Guitar League around the country. Oh, wow. We'll talk more about that. But
sure.
the average age is my age. I mean, it turns out it's 50 to 70. I mean, it's a wonderful thing when someone young like yourself comes in, but it turns out it's mostly people that want to pick it up in their older. Now it could be, and I'm sure Paul can chime in on this as well, but it turns out it's either people that, oh, geez, I finally retired. I now have some time on my hands. I want to start with this thing. Or it's someone that was in a band in high school when they were 18, 16, and then dropped it because they had a wife and family and kids and a career. And now they want to pick it back up again. Sure. So regardless, it's people that have a few years under their belt that want to get back into it. And then, of course, it's more than just we'll talk more about Guitar League. I don't want to OD on that now, but it's the secret sauce of Guitar League is the motto is learn, play, share. So it's more than just getting together with a jam session where no one wants to teach you anything. It presumes you have some skill level, but this thing, it's all about whatever level you're in, whether you're a beginner or quite skilled. There's a learning experience there. You'll pick something up, and whoever knows something, even if you're just learned a couple new chords, share it with somebody, so it's all, the whole concept is sharing, learning. And then of course the camaraderie and all that goes with all that stuff. But that's in a nutshell, but.
Awesome.
Now I've dominated this. I know Paul is some daggone good talker, so he can.
I guess I'm probably living proof of what Guitar League can be, and that is I have zero musical background. I didn't know anybody that played in the band. Nobody in my family played in the band. Nothing. It was just guitar was. I always loved music. And I loved the guitar, and in the back of my mind, it was like, maybe someday I'll learn that. Well, as it turned out, I sold my business and I retired. I'm 65, so I retired 7 years ago, and guitar was on my bucket list. So I went down to the local music store, bought some, hack guitar off the rack, and started taking some lessons, which I enjoyed doing. I started to fall in love with it as I got a little bit better. Probably like not intermediate, high beginner stage, for example. I started looking around. I wanted to play with people, but I didn't want to do the band thing. And all I could find were either pure beginners or people looking to form, the next supergroup, which I certainly wasn't capable of doing. So I had picked up a subscription to Acoustic Guitar magazine, and there was an article on Guitar League in it. And I read it, and I said, this is exactly what I want. So I went on, the interweb and started searching for the local Massachusetts chapter. Well, there wasn't one at the time. So Jim's name was listed and a contact info. So I emailed him, and we had a couple of conversations, and it just intrigued the heck out of me. I actually went up to Syracuse to attend a meeting that was run by Dick Ward, who's one of the other co-founders. And the people there were I didn't even bring my guitar. I just didn't even, and the people were so cool and just so great and welcoming. And it was such a great environment that I came back, and my wife and I had a 5-minute conversation, and we decided to start the chapter. So that's really what it is. So my message to people is first of all, you're never too old to start. And second of all, the quote unquote, Jim, the special sauce that I see of Guitar League is it's really no judgment, So someone like myself, I'm probably at maybe an intermediate level now. I mean, I don't think I'll live long enough to get to be an expert, but I can make my way around the fretboard. And I find that even I'm able to show people things now at
Sure.
So my journey is much different than other people. We do have my membership is, again, the demographic is similar to what Jim alluded to. We've got some fabulous players, like Ned and Matt Brodeur and Ed Garbedian and Steve Shields are just fantastic players. And then we've got people who literally are new beginners who, which way do I hold this? Mm-hmm. And really what we're looking to attract is the people who are kind of nervous about going out in public. They don't want to go out and play, but they want to get together and hang with people. So for someone like me, not a band guy, not a music guy, it's really, I kind of am the poster child for what we're looking for, honestly.
That's awesome.
That's my experience. Now, my wife likes to sing, as I found out. So, every couple of weeks, she and I make the cat cry down here in the basement, and we have a heck of a good time with it. We really do. I'll get into it later, but we've just met so many fantastic people. It's been a life-changing experience for both of us.
That's awesome. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more specifically about the chapter, but let's talk a little bit about so we've talked a bit, you can bring a guitar, you can play at a meeting. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about, the general meeting structure, because there's also one of the things that I find to be really cool about Guitar League is you also get the opportunity to watch an experienced guitar player play for about an hour every meeting, which I think is really cool. One of the previous episodes I talked about Scott Babineau, who was the performer at the Central Mass meeting a couple of months ago, and I was just blown away. At one point, Ned leaned over to me, and because the previous meeting had been my first meeting, and so just because I don't know how much the two of you know about my background as a guitar player, but I've been playing electric guitar for about 20 years now. And I started on an acoustic, but as soon as I saved up enough money to buy an electric, I bought an electric and I didn't really go back. And so Ned's been kind of for a while now telling me, you gotta pick up the acoustic, because my dad had a Martin that he left to me. He was like, you gotta play the Martin. Your dad would have wanted you to play the Martin. And playing acoustic makes you a better electric player, which I've heard that from a number of people, but it's just, I've never been real inclined to pick up an acoustic. So finally, Ned got me, and he was like, come to a Guitar League meeting. There's one next month. We can carpool. We'll go check it out. And if you like it, you can sign up and become a member. So I went to the first meeting, and I forget who the guitarist was that was playing, but he had a loop pedal, which I had heard of, but I didn't know a whole lot about them. And Scott had a loop pedal as well. And Scott did this incredible rendition of Toto's Africa, which
crazy, wasn't it? Yeah.
I was blown away by, and I think if I recall, he wasn't going to play it either, but he had brought a friend who was like, play it. And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I thought that was, he played a lot of really great songs that night, but I thought that rendition of Africa was one of the best songs he played, and probably one of the coolest renditions I've ever heard of a cover of Africa. And at one point, Ned leaned over to me and he goes, I've seen a lot of people use loop pedals. I've never seen anybody use a loop pedal the way this guy uses a loop pedal. It really, I felt motivated after to go look at loop pedals and see what I could do with it. I mean, I feel like I'd be disappointed because I would find that I can't do what he's doing, but
that's very talented. Well, that's one of the cool things about Guitar League, and I didn't make this structure up. This came from Jim and his crew, but all the chapters generally follow a similar structure. One thing that I will say that Jim gives us complete freedom to, do whatever we want. And, it's we all have creativity. within very wide boundaries. So it's really a cool thing to kind of be able to run. But one of the things that I tell people about these meetings is we believe it's unique. And that is, it's a 2-hour session once a month. And you're right. The first hour, we bring in the best local pros in the area. I mean, we've had over the 3 years we've been in existence, including the Zoom. We kept it alive during COVID. We've had some of the most wonderful, fantastic players that are all locally. The depth of talent that exists below the level that you see when you go to the Boston Garden or any of that. There's such a depth of talent in the individual or duo acoustic realm, certainly in this area, and I'm assuming in every area, that we never run out of people to come. And we offer them, it's a win-win, as Jim always says, is that my members get, it's $75 a year. It's whatever it is, $6. It's stupidly cheap. Yeah. They get a concert one-on-one with a super talented artist. And this person, they are motivated to come to see us because we are there for them exclusively. They're not competing with the Patriots or the Bruins or somebody trying to order a beer. We are all there to listen to them. So we encourage them to do originals, to do whatever they want to do, to talk to us about their gigs, their instrument, their influences. And to a person afterwards, they've all said to me, this is awesome. They all asked to come back. I mean, we've got a repeat business. I got more people want to come back now than I have slots available. Wow. So that's the first hour. And then the second hour, we break out into skill-based breakout groups. Now, whenever I say skill-based, people are like, oh, someone's going to test me. And that's not the reality. They're self-selected. If you're a new beginner or an expert, you go in any group you want. Nobody's going to test you. Nobody's going to critique your skill. And those groups, I will point out, are all led by volunteer breakout group leaders that are all members. So one of the neat things, as Jim alluded to earlier, sharing is our higher skilled members, they give back. They're learning something every meeting, I hope. But the reality is they're there because they enjoy the instrument and they want to help people like me that are at a lower level progress. So it's a great format. Kudos to Jim and his people for coming up with the format because it really is unique. It really is. Is it a commercial coming from me? Yeah, probably. But we have a great time. We really do.
Checks in the mail, Paul.
Yeah.
But
to your point, that's the kind of the format that we all utilize.
Sure.
And that is a common thread throughout it. That's why it's called, by the way, the Guitar League. It's kind of a nod to the baseball league where you start as a beginner in the rookies and you might move up to the minors and then into the majors finally. So it's a similar story. Sure. I learned this, by the way, again, grew up as a drummer and I started playing guitar. I don't know what it is. As a drummer, you rarely play alone. You're in a band. I mean, and they usually put you in the back and you bash away and there's lots of noise going on. You play a guitar, it's all you. You know what I mean? And if you don't make a noise, no noise happens, Right. So I don't know what it is, but it's very easy, certainly for me, and I gather for other people, to get a sense of the I'm not worthy sensation. Where you're playing with someone and someone either is better or seems better. It just conjures up this feeling of insecurity in yourself. You know what I mean? Which is a drag. You know what I mean? And also on someone that, let's say, is a lot better, when they're playing with people that aren't so good, they're like, this is kind of a drag. So anyway, that's what I learned. For a meeting to work, it really has to truly work for everyone. Yeah, I mean, it can't be just a gathering of great players, or that's all you'll have are great players and very few of them. Or if it's only just lousy players, well, then that's not, what I mean? So that's why the whole league thing works. That first hour that Paul was talking about, everybody can get something out of that.
Sure.
Whether you're just beginning or whether you're an absolute pro, you're going to get something out of another local regional pro that's in there talking about, they're not only playing, they're talking about what they do and how they do it. And members are peppering questions at them. I mean, and then the breakout sessions, you get to go be with people of your same level. So you're all in the same, there's a comfort level there. If you kind of stink or you're just getting going, well, good. There's 8 other people that are in the same daggone boat, Sure. So so you feel comfortable and you're learning a little bit. It's like, oh, so that's how you make that daggone E chord. You know what I mean? So that's the concept. And that's the general format, and Paul does just a spectacular job with his chapter there. I mean, the talent level that he has attracted to do that main presentation is just stunning.
Yeah, we've been very lucky, and as I alluded to, right now we're getting to the point where people are calling me asked to be presenters. And one of the biggest fears, I had a couple of big fears when I was starting this, not coming from the music side of things. I only knew one person who performed, and he was a guy by the name of Ken Macy, who was a friend who graduated my son in high school. And he's literally the only person I knew. So I called Ken when I was after I got off the phone with Jim, and I said, hey, listen, I'm trying to start this, but I don't know anybody. And Ken gave me names, Sean Fulton and some people, and it mushroomed to the point now that pretty much everybody that plays out locally knows of us.
Sure.
And as I said, we've been doing this for 3 years, and there are some people that we repeat, but we really try to keep new talent coming in. We've started to attract people from Boston. We've had a presenter come up from Boston, which we're in Leominster, which is, 45, 50 minutes away. We have a great performer named Janet Feld, who comes from Somerville. We have a woman come from Northampton this month. So people are willing to make the trip, to do it because it is unique.
Sure. Yeah. And, honestly, I think one of the coolest things for me as somebody who's relatively new to Guitar League was that, I mean, first of all, it also probably the fact that there's been a year of not being able to actually experience music in person. Right. There were a few aspects for me that I really enjoyed. The first was getting to see a guitar player perform for that first hour. And it's not just like going to see somebody perform at a club or something. You're actually getting Q&A with that person and getting to ask them about the techniques that they're using and the gear that they're using, and they're sharing that information. And I found that to be really very informative, and I enjoyed that a lot. And I enjoyed getting to listen to the different guitar players coming and play, but then also those breakout groups, just getting to get in a room with other people and play. And the fact that it is broken down by different levels and that you can kind of move around. And I kind of have stayed within the group that I started with because I feel like that's kind of a good fit for me, but you can certainly move around if you find that, like, okay, I feel like I'm a little bit more advanced, I should go to this group, or maybe this is a little bit too advanced for me. You have that flexibility, but I feel like I learn something new every time, and in both from the instructors and the guest musicians, and also just from other people in the groups that I'm playing with. And so that, to me, like, that's exciting for me every month, just to be able to grab my guitar and go out and play with other people and see some live music and learn about other people's gear. So it's a really cool group. I wish I'd gotten involved sooner, to be quite honest.
That's okay. I mean, one of the things that we also try to, encourage is, as Jim has talked about, is sharing amongst people within the groups. I'm blessed to have some super talented breakout group leaders. We've just expanded it. To give you an example, we've had, Ned, Ed, Matt, and a guy named Steve Shields, who moved to the Cape, have done it for 3 years now. And, I felt bad because they just do it every single month. So I said, listen, I'm going to try to give you guys a little break. I'm going to try to find, a couple more people. I had 10 people volunteer to be breakout group leaders. So now I've been able to build this kind of every 2 month rotating breakout group leader schedule, which allows a couple of things. It allows the current breakout group leaders to get a little bit of a break, but it also gives some variety to the people that are in the breakout groups, because everybody's got a different style. We have people that like roots music, Americana. I mean, I'm a classic rock guy, pretty much, period. But the ability, one of the cool things is we allow people to do what they want from a breakout group perspective. So the members get a different taste every month of somebody's interest or skill level. And certain people are better at some things than others. And it's really the way it works out. So we're very lucky to have some very talented breakout group leaders. Absolutely. They've been wonderful.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll chime in a little bit to that as well. And I've learned this as well. One learns as much by teaching something as they do by being the student.
Right.
I mean, you might know something, and you certainly do, but then when you go teach it, particularly to not just one person, but let's say 3, 4, 5 other people, it's like you end up like, wow, not that you don't know things, but you learn of how you could have presented it better, or things you could have said, or other nuances. I mean, so even the best players that end up being breakout leaders, they'll learn a bit just about the process of teaching, which is an interesting skill set as well.
It's interesting. We're talking about starting on that note. We're in the process of beginning to start a fingerstyle breakout group leader as well. We're working. I'm starting to work that out, and I like fingerstyle. And I was thinking, who's going to teach this? And I said, well, I'm certainly not qualified to teach it all the time, but I've been working on Dust in the Wind for a perfect.
Okay.
And I can play it. I play it pretty well. I said, okay, I could teach this. And then I started thinking about, I know how to play it, but do I know how to communicate that to somebody? And to follow up on Jim's point, all of the breakout group leaders have said that exact thing. They have to sit. Matt Brodeur is a perfect example. He plays out all the time. He has to, he's told me, I have to sit back and think, okay, I've played this song 150 times, but how do I teach it?
Yeah.
Right.
And he, along with them all, do a great job of doing that. But they're learning too, and they are better presenters now than they were 3 years ago. Obviously,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's cool. It really is.
It rounds you out.
The fingerstyle group is just something that we're starting to talk about to try to keep things interesting.
Great idea,
you're all
Paul.
about doing whatever the members want. For example, talking about your guitar group you guys were in. The first year we were formed, on our 1-year anniversary, we had a jam. We had a member jam. And for 2 months before that, each of the breakout groups were working on songs.
Okay.
And we took the full 2 hours, and all the groups got up there. My wife, Heather, and I got up and did Landslide. And for both of us, that was the first time we had ever, literally ever, played in front of anybody. And then the groups got up and played, and it was just so much fun. I mean, we had about 100 people because people brought their families and the kids and the whole routine. And of course, COVID killed that last year, and we're starting to talk about trying to do something like that again. But the point is, we just try to keep it, whatever the members want, we'll do pretty much. We're a democratic society here. If we have an overwhelming desire to do something, we'll try to make it happen for them.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd be really excited for the fingerstyle group, because that's definitely an area that,
me too.
I mean, is
I don't know. I can't get my fingers to do that, man.
Yeah,
I'd love to learn that.
That's me. Is inexperienced as I am at playing acoustic, even harder for me as I've tried to learn some fingerstyle songs, and I've been kind of, after going to the Guitar League meetings, I've been motivated after watching the performers who've done a lot of really cool fingerstyle stuff, and they make it look so easy. And then I come home.
It isn't. Trust me, it's not.
No, not at all.
But we have some of our. I know Ned can play fingerstyle, and I think Matt can. We have a local performer, Sean Fulton, who's a great friend of the club, a personal friend of mine. He shows up at every other meeting just because he likes what we're doing, and he's a good fingerstyle player. So I'm trying to put together some sort of a curriculum for that.
Okay.
The thing that we have to be careful with fingerstyle is, since it's going to be a small group, if there's a wide variety in skill level, it's tough to do. It's tough to execute when you've got someone that can play X and someone that can't. So we're trying to figure that out in terms of who's going to be there. I've got 6 or 7 people that have expressed an interest, and maybe we'll do just a rotating thing. You play a song, you teach it, and if it goes well, it goes well. So we're kind of working that out, but it's a lot of fun. I've been playing for a couple of years, and I'm nowhere near any good, but it's very challenging. I find it very challenging.
Sure.
That's one of the things that I found about guitar, honestly, from someone who hasn't been playing his whole life, how flippin' hard it is to make that thing sound anywhere near the way I want it to sound. And then
Right.
I think Jim was talking a little bit earlier. Sometimes I come back from Guitar League and I tell Heather, I don't know if I'm inspired or I'm in despair over my ability. I mean, we had Scott Babineau, we had Mark Marquis, Sean Fulton, everybody that's been there has been just a fantastic player. But at the end of the day, it inspires me. I have a couple of minutes of despair when I realize that I don't have enough years left to get to that level of skill. But at the end of the day, it's just what some of these people can do with that instrument is amazing. And the other thing too is most of the time it's a stripped down performance. They have an amp and a loop pedal and maybe a chorus pedal or something. You're not playing with a ton of distortion and you're not playing with 15 other guys to hide behind. They're out there on their own. And when you think about that and then you try to do it yourself, you realize how really skilled they are.
Right. Which, honestly, I think that's part of what really impressed me with Scott's performance is the level of complexity to the songs that he was performing as one person with a guitar and vocals. And he also had, and I'm not sure what it was, but he had some sort of a vocal effect that he was using too that made it sound like he had backup singers for parts of his songs that were singing other ranges of the vocals, which was really, really cool. But yeah, like you said, a lot, these guys show up, they've got an amp, a pedal board, an acoustic guitar, and a mic. That's it. Exactly. And they perform like that too all the time.
Yep. Because we don't have a PA. The club doesn't have a PA. When we changed locations, we lost, the place we were at had a built-in PA. We don't have one now. So, I have one here. I can slip over, but I just tell them, bring your gig rig, and they all do. And I've played some of the songs that those people play. I play here with the 3 cowboy chords, and I listen to them play it, and it's like it's another universe. It's just who and how does this happen? I don't have any idea. But, so we're very lucky. It's a great time. We have a good time with it.
Absolutely. So, let's talk a little bit. So, Jim, I know you mentioned that there are, did you say 7 chapters now or 9?
Well, there's 9.
Okay.
A couple are still dormant because of COVID, but there's a few that are back in action. Paul's club's back in action. Phoenix, Arizona is back. Asheville, we were back for a couple of times, and now we're apparently taking November off. Might come back in December. Wisconsin's open and doing it, and who else? Or somebody else too.
Syracuse is up, aren't they? Syracuse,
not quite yet, Paul. They were, and then they pulled back. So, but they're chomping at the bit,
And one of the cool things with Guitar League membership is it's like AA. If you're a member of one, you're a member of all. So
and actually Boston North, your nearby neighbor is open, Paul.
Oh, he's back up too?
He's back up. In fact,
there is a chapter down in Boston that just started like right before COVID. So
you gotta check out the presenter that he got too. A guy that was went through Berkeley and everything else. He's a real hot shot. So
really?
he's starting to get some. He's just getting going, and but he's starting to finally get at least some good quality presenters there, et cetera. But anyway, so he's in action.
That's been one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Kayla, is just obviously we're fans of Guitar League. Clearly, we wouldn't be doing it. But with what the issue that I have is getting the word out, really, because we use social media, and I'm like, apparently only old people are on Facebook now. So really, we've had some articles. We had a great article in the Sterling Times a couple of weeks ago. We've had one in the Leominster Sentinel. We've been on, a couple of radio shows, a couple of podcasts. And really what it comes down to is people, just all these guitars that are being sold, people playing them somewhere, and we think it's such a great concept that it really behooves us to get the word out. I'd like to see 100 people there at some point, and I think that's reasonable to accommodate that, So it's just one of the things one of the reasons we like doing things like this is to just get the word out, let people know what's going on, let them see the face behind the name, and understand that we aren't all Eddie Van Halen clones, and they're not going to walk in, and be blown away. Well, we have some people who are close to that, but the vast majority of us are just us, you know?
Sure. So one thing that I probably should clarify too, because I don't know if we touched on this, but Guitar League is all acoustic, correct? There's nobody playing electric
No, we
any
don't
of
do
these.
electric because of just the complexity of the amp situation and all that.
Sure.
I mean, at one point I talked about doing an electric subgroup. But when we got talking about it, you bring in 4 or 5 people with 4 or 5 different amps, and it just becomes pretty unwieldy. So it's not that there's any bias against it. It's just the pragmatic reality of bringing in more equipment and plugs and noise and all that sort of stuff. So
now a lot of presenters are electric, and they're welcome to do so. I mean, they come in with their electric stuff, like you have the stuff hanging on your wall there, and and pedals and all kinds of stuff, and people are intrigued by that, and they'll go up and they'll ask questions certainly about the pedals and everything else. So presenters are electric. It's like Paul's saying, just the logistics of the members coming, and of course we want people to play. I mean, so it's just easier if that's acoustic. So.
Sure. And I know one of the things as well, and I believe Ned had told me this, but knew that I wasn't going to show up without a guitar. But if you show up to the first meeting, if you're feeling a little bit nervous, you can just come and attend a meeting and kind of see what's happening.
Absolutely. I mean, the first meetings are always free. Period. We want people to come and experience it. We don't want them to feel that, we're trying to scam their $6 out of them, day one. The first meeting is always free. We allow people to just come in and listen. There are a couple of people who walked by the place we're in Sterling and asked what was going on. And my wife was at the desk and said, come on in. And the guy plays a flute or something. So, we're pretty, at least in my chapter anyway, we're pretty open, and lax is the wrong word, but we're pretty welcoming. We want anybody to come in. We encourage our presenters to bring their families. We encourage our members to bring their families. We have a couple of members whose significant other doesn't play, but just comes and hangs out. And we're absolutely welcoming. That's not a problem.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's like Paul says, the first meeting's always free, so people can come in, check it out. If they feels good, they can join. If not, they don't have to. Beyond that, like Paul's saying, I mean, the membership's $75 for a year. I mean, $6 a month. I mean, you try and get a guitar lesson. Not that these are guitar lessons. It's $15 a half an hour. You know what I mean? So $6 for 2 hours worth of guitar stuff. I mean, it's a pretty daggone good deal. And nobody's getting rich on the chapters on. Now, Paul bought his house there that he's sitting in with all the proceeds.
Yeah. I'm going to raise the rates a little bit. So, that's something that we should talk about. I mean,
but he does. The reason why there's a fee at all is that anyone who plays any instrument is always sort of, why can't you play for free? You'll get great promotions. Like, no, we don't subscribe to that. Right. All the presenters we pay.
Right.
And that's that. We don't ask anybody to come on in and do it for the good of, so that there's that. And then there's a venue that needs to be paid. So there are some bills and expenses. And so there's a little bit of dough that gets generated. It's just like Paul says, absurdly cheap to create some cash flow so that the darn thing can just keep going. Without some sort of cash flow, it just turns into a little gathering, and then the wheels eventually come off. You know what I mean? So this keeps it going.
Very important to us to pay the presenters. In fact, I paid every presenter during COVID. During COVID, we kept the meetings going. We suspended membership. We didn't charge anybody to come to the meetings. And we did that for 14 months. And, we were tight, but we made it. But the reality from day one is we're going to pay the presenters, period. Because as you well know, COVID, though many of us were negatively affected by COVID, performers were significantly affected by COVID. Many of the people that present for us, that's all they do. They are full-time musicians. So the opportunity to pay them even what we were paying, which isn't top-notch pay by any stretch, was welcomed and appreciated. And So that's to Jim's point. Yeah, we pay for the venue, and we have some Facebook advertising and Zoom and all that. But it's a labor of love for us. It's not. I'm sure we could double it and still get as many people, but whatever. It doesn't matter. We have a good time.
Yeah.
And we've been very supportive of the local music stores, in this area and all the areas. Once they understand that we're not competing, we're not trying to take their lesson business away.
Right.
Once they understand that we're complementary to them rather than competing, we've gotten great support as well.
Sure.
So, very welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, as somebody who took private lessons and attended that, I did the guitar ensemble, and then the same music school, they had a rock ensemble, which I did a couple of years, and attending the ensembles was not any less expensive than taking private. I mean, it was less expensive, but it was still significant. $75 a year to watch 12
it's crazy.
Amazing performances, basically going to 12 concerts a year and getting to sit and play with a group of people and learn something once a month. I mean, that's an incredible price. And I had no problem. I mean, I knew when I went to the first meeting, I was like, yeah, I know I'm going to sign up, but Ned was like, come to the first meeting. It's free. So I went, and then, Paul reached out after and said, if you enjoyed it and you want to sign up for a membership, this is where you can go do it at $75 a year. And I was like, no problem. I'm going to sign up, next week I get paid. I'll go sign up next week. And I did. And every month I look forward to going to those meetings, and you can't beat the cost of, like I said, getting to see a performance and get a little bit of it. It's not competing with lessons, because again, as somebody who took private lessons are different, but I would have loved to have been able to take private lessons and still be able to participate in a monthly group of, getting to play with other people. Yeah. So it's a very great thing.
The other thing that we've been doing in our chapter is I and Heather and I are very big about trying to get involved with the community. And before COVID, this is just an informational thing, but if people are interested, we participated in a youth music camp in Fitchburg. Town. And I had 10 people volunteer to work every night for a week to give guitar lessons to underprivileged kids, and from 5 to 8 or something. And we also were able to come up with almost 20 loaner guitars that we could provide to the young kids. And they had to give them back, obviously, but most all of us have more than one, acoustic guitar. So we're also working on something like that in the current town that we're in now. And the only reason I mention that is because, again, we want to be involved with the community. I think it's important for us to give back. I think music is critical to kids' development, and anything that we can do to help in that regard, we're going to do. And that's a testament to the membership. The membership has been more than willing to step up and help. Anytime I've asked them to volunteer, we've had nothing more than an outstanding response. So again, just another thing that Guitar League, we try to do to kind of make ourselves part of the community and make the community happy to have us as part of them. So.
Sure. That's really incredible. That's awesome that's something that you do. And I'm sure those kids appreciated it.
It was, and these were young kids too. We had, maybe from 7 to 12. And we did a little recital at the end, and it was awesome. I mean, they had their parents there, and it was just a lot of fun. And because, we played most of the song in the background, but the kids were wailing away at it, and they were just so proud to be able to make it sound anything other than completely horrible. They were thrilled with it. And so it was great. It was a great time. Hopefully we'll be
awesome.
Like that again.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things we talked a little bit about, Paul, you started the Central Mass chapter because you didn't see one around here. You emailed Jim. Yep. Jim, got you started with setting that up.
Jim is that on me is what Jim did, right? Jim,
what'd they do?
You gave me the sales pitch.
Yeah. You're gonna love it.
Is it, what is involved in starting a chapter? Is it as simple as you email Jim and say, hey, we don't have a chapter in my area and I'd like to start one?
Yep.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, here's the other good news. This is a too good to be true podcast, I think. It doesn't cost a penny to get started. Not with us. I mean,
Right.
The only thing somebody needs to do is find a venue.
Sure.
And some people get venues for free. I know our Madison, Wisconsin one, they did it in the basement of his church and gets it for nothing. So find a venue, and it has to have a few special characteristics about it, which we'll talk about, and then start finding some presenters. And that's kind of the chicken and the egg there. You get a presenter at a venue, and then somehow we find some people that want to show up and like the concept. And it takes a little while to build that momentum, as Paul can attest to, or any one of them can attest to. But I don't know, for some doggone reason, if you just stay at it a little bit, the presenters, it's so unusual of a concept that people just can't grasp it. The presenters can't grasp it. The attendees can't grasp it. It's like, what the heck? Yeah. But once they kind of get the concept and it starts to work, it gets some momentum. But so that's what it is. Literally, there is zero quote fee or whatever that goes to the mothership. At all, and we have plenty of coaching to get anyone started. But that's all. All it takes is someone. We need to clone Paul Murphy is what we got to do, because all it takes is just someone that's willing to play that leadership role. And you don't even have to be a great guitar player at all. Like, take me, I stink, and certainly stunk when I started. But it's just like, if you want to learn, and if you kind of like the idea of assembling people that might want to, with a similar interest, it's essentially a club. Sure. It could be bowling night. You know what I mean? But it's so easy to start, and I for the life of me, it's so darn cheap. It's so easy. It costs zero to get going. To this day, I don't understand why there isn't one in every town in the country.
Sure.
It takes a leader. It takes someone that's willing to jump in the driver's seat.
Sure. I mean, that kind of brings up my next question, which was whether or not you envision. So I know we have some people who listen to this show that are actually not in the U.S. Do you envision overseas, if they want to start a guitar league?
Absolutely.
I'll go.
Yes. Paul and I will physically go over wherever it is, particularly if it's the Caribbean in February.
Yeah.
We'll go.
All right.
But no, the concept can happen anywhere. We've had some inquiries from Canada, and then I don't know, COVID hit, whatever. I mean, but it's so daggone easy, and we've got all the information on how to get it going, how to find a venue, how to recruit people, how to recruit presenters, how to recruit members, how to go. I mean, it's all just free and easy to do. It's just let's do it.
I can tell you as someone who started it. In fact, Jim and I had kind of this conversation today on another topic. It's a little bit daunting when you don't. I don't know, Jim. Am I the only chapter leader that doesn't have a music background?
Let's see. Well, Dick is it, and Bart, maybe so.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
The only reason I say that is because not having connections like Jim had, I will say that it was a little bit daunting. Once I decided to do it, I kind of stepped back and was now, and honestly, if it wasn't for my friendship with Ken Macy, I wouldn't even know how to go about finding presenters. And now I see somebody on Facebook, we go to a restaurant or something, and I always have cards on me, and I'm not shy anymore. I used to be shy, and now I'm not. I just show up and say, hey, listen, I run this group. If you have an interest, blah, blah, blah. So in terms of people starting it, there's a little bit of, it's not expensive, but there's work involved. I mean, it doesn't happen by itself. It's not going to you're not going to put one Facebook post out there and 400 people are going to show up, because it is a unique concept. I think the hardest part of starting a chapter is the explaining to people what's involved, and the taking the time to talk to them. It's not the experienced guitar players that you need to convince. It's the middle of the road guys, the people like me who somebody who bought a guitar over COVID and has watched a couple of YouTube lessons and can play a couple of open chords. You got to convince them that they're not going to be ridiculed here. And it's back to Jim's point of half an hour ago. If you haven't felt it, you don't understand. And I get it, because I have been in that situation where I'm like, there's no flipping way I'm going to something like that. I'm not like a friend of mine's been trying to get Heather and I to go to open mic for 3 years. And no way, I'm not doing it. I'll go and perform in front of Guitar League, but I'm not going to an open mic. So it's that sort of reluctance, I think, that that we as chapter leaders have to work to overcome, because not everybody, almost everybody that shows up loves it, absolutely loves it. The only people that really don't stick with us are the super talented guitar players who don't have that giving thing built in. If they're just there to riff and impress people, then this really isn't the place for them. But 98% of the people that show up, we've got a very high retention rate of people that show up. So from your perspective, how do I start a chapter? Jim will give you the nuts and bolts. One thing that was very beneficial for me is I took a ride. I drove to Syracuse and stayed overnight and went to a meeting. And that experience is what cemented it for me, honestly. Not just the meeting itself, but the people, the interaction that they had with each other, the welcoming that I received, and the fact that I didn't even bring my guitar. People were trying to lend me a guitar so I could go into the Breakout group. So we try to mimic that spirit of cooperation and all that in Central Mass.
Sure.
And I mean, it's an open shop. I mean, there's it's all about sharing on every level. So even the chapter leaders share amongst themselves about stuff that works and doesn't work. So if there's anyone that's thinking about it that's new, I mean, certainly I'm happy to chat with them, but they're open to chatting with Paul or Bart or Dick Ward or any of the other chapter leaders on their experience and how do they do things and is it really worth it? And I don't know, just whatever. So there's many, many resources for somebody to get one launched.
Sure. Okay. Well, so there you have it. If there's anybody watching or listening that you don't have a Guitar League chapter near you and you think, boy, I'd be interested in starting one, the process is pretty simple. And,
my phone's ringing. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Especially if you're in St. Lucia in February, I'll be happy.
Yes, we're highly encouraged. We'll pay you to start a chapter.
Some personal attention.
Nice.
There's an incentive program.
I can say unequivocally that for Heather and I, and my wife Heather is an equal part of this. She didn't want to be on TV, but we have had. This has been a great experience for us. It's the number of people that, and I know I've said it before, the number of people that we have met, both from a presentation and just from a pure social perspective, has been astounding. Coming back from COVID, we had people hugging each other because it had been 14 months since we were back, and every one of them just said, "I'm just so glad to be back," in a human scenario where you can interact. I mean, Zoom was okay, but it doesn't capture.
It's not the same.
Exactly. So if you're thinking about it, it's a great experience. It does take some time. Being retired probably helps. I'm retired, so I have the time to do it. But there's plenty of chapter leaders who aren't, and they make it happen as well. I'm waiting for Jim's supposed to be having a convention someplace warm pretty soon.
I believe there is. We're waiting for that. The Tampa chapter. It's,
Phoenix is nice.
By the way, the information it's easy to find. It's just www.guitarleague.com. chapter.com. So
Yep.
it's easy to find that, and you'll find all the chapters are there. You can go into any one. Each chapter has their own page with contact information for Paul or any of the chapter leaders. You'll find my information there as well. Just full disclosure on money wise, again, does not take a nickel, a penny to get started. You literally could get started 4-0 if you found a place to host it. You could really host it in your living room if you had a big enough one and had someone talented to be a presenter. I mean, you could get started literally for free. The only way that the mothership makes any money is that we get a small percentage of when someone signs up as a full annual member, is that we get up to 15% piece of that. But the 85% goes to the chapter, and then so we're motivated to help the chapters grow, so that there's so any sponsorship money that anyone gets, that's 100% the chapters. Any walk up traffic that they get, the $10-15 at the door, that's all the chapters. We just get a little bit out of someone that's so that we can pay for our expenses as well. You know, the website and all this other stuff we're doing and trying to build other chapters, but so just full disclosure, but it's all just a cash flow thing whatever. Just
one of the things that's also an interesting topic for someone who's thinking about starting a chapter is the venue. I was surprised because we have unique requirements for the venue we're working in. You were there, Kayla. We have to have a space big enough to have a main presentation, but then we have to have breakout rooms, and those breakout rooms have to be separated so we don't get nosebleed. We started off in a really cool place, the Bull Run in Shirley. We were there for a year, and they were great to us. It was a super location, but we outgrew them. As we got bigger, they didn't have the breakout room capacity to allow us to separate. And we tried one meeting in a big room with the breakout groups in each corner, and it was really bad. It was really ugly. So in terms of location, it's surprisingly challenging to find a place that meets the characteristics that we're looking for. When you think about it, you can always find like an Elks Hall with one big room, but they don't necessarily have 3 or 4 breakout rooms. And we, in our chapter, we want to be as encompassing as possible, meaning we want to serve all the needs. So I would like 4 breakout, maybe even 5 breakout rooms. And we can't physically do that. But if you think about it, it's not an easy thing to find.
Yeah.
Churches work, town halls work. Most, Elks clubs and American AmVets don't work because they don't have the breakout room. They have a great room, major room, but they don't have a breakout room. Hotels tend to work, but around here, they're a little expensive. So, that's why we're not in them. That about makes sense to you, Jim? That's a fair description, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Those are the characteristics. And that's another thing. We have a whole, sheet on how to find a venue and what types are there and how to go after them and what to say and all that kind of stuff. But it's a little different, but everyone's found places. And in fact, a couple of them have moved a few times. This is Paul's 3rd place. And it's okay, Once you get functional, you'll find what place works and what place in the community works. And usually you can find a win-win with a venue. I mean, there's a couple places because we tend to have meetings on an off night so the presenters aren't working. You know what I mean? You have it on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday when players don't have gigs and people have time and la-di-da. So and a lot of venues are looking for some live bodies as well. So there's options. It takes a little bit of, you got to put a certain hat on to go find something. But once you do, when you look around, you'll find something. Everyone has.
Sure. And I know actually for the Central Mass group, the night is actually changing because we have
right. Exactly. I picked this place. For those of you that don't know, we're in Sterling, Mass, which is a beautiful little bedroom community off of 190 Route 2. And I used to bike race there, so I knew it was a small, sleepy community. So when we got the town hall, beautifully renovated town hall, we got it for Tuesday night. I show up and there's 4,000 cars around. And I'm thinking, I won't say it, but you know what I'm thinking. So I said, well, okay, it must be an anomaly. I go back the next month, there's 4,000 cars there. So I walked across the street, and it turns out that the local church has a auction every Tuesday night forever, and they get a boatload of people. So, but again, this is in thankfully the town of Sterling, Patrice Fullhart, who's the facilitation manager, has been fantastic. So I called her up and I said, look, my members can't find a place to park, as silly as that seems. So can I move it? And she said, let me get back to you. 10 minutes later, yep, move it. So we're moving to Wednesday night to hopefully miss the LaGuardia-like traffic jam that occurs in Sterling, Mass on Tuesday nights. Now, they're all gone by the time we get out, but when people are showing up at 6:30, it's crazy. I mean, I was flabbergasted. So yeah, we're moving. The venue has been great. I want to plug them. They've spent some money renovating the town hall. You've been there, Kayla. It's awesome. They did a great job. Plenty of space. The facilities department, the people within the town have been great to work with. So again, to your point, Jim, and they want bodies in there. They spend money on this. They want people to use it, and it exposes it to other. I've had a couple of people ask me who they contact about renting it for events and that sort of thing. So, we try to be as much of a win-win as we can.
Sure. Absolutely. So for anybody who happens to be in the Central Mass area, so the meetings for the group in Lancaster, those are moving to the third Wednesday of the month every month?
Well, yeah. When we flexed it a little bit in November, it's the 17th because we didn't want to be the night before Thanksgiving.
Right.
December 22nd. The schedule's up, is published. Basically, it's the second or third Wednesday of the month, depending upon if there's a holiday or Christmas or, we don't want to do that. But
sure.
Yeah, from 7 to 9, Heather and I are there at 6, usually 6:15 to get it set up. Our presenters show up. 7 to 9, you're home in bed by 9:30. So it's a great time. Plenty of parking now since we moved it. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. And then for anybody who's not in the Central Mass area, as Paul said, you can go to guitarleague.com and find the local chapters. And I'm sure they have their days and times, locations posted as well. So you can check out when those groups are meeting. Absolutely. And if you don't have a group near you, Paul and Jim have given you quite a bit of information as to how you can start your own group, and you don't have to be based in the U.S. to do that. If you want to branch out, I know we've got listeners in Europe, and I know we've got a few listeners over in Australia. And
Let's do it. I like Australia.
Yeah.
It's in Australia now. All right. I can go.
We're ready for a field trip.
2023 for the Solheim Cup. So if anybody in Madrid wants to start a chapter, let me know.
There you go.
We're ready.
There you go. Awesome. Well, unless either of you have anything else you want to add that we haven't covered yet, I think we've thrown a lot of information at the viewers and the listeners this month, and hopefully, if you're experienced or even if you're a relatively new guitarist, like I said, I know there are some people that picked up guitar during the pandemic and they were really feeling kind of iffy about it because they weren't kids and they had never played a guitar before. And if you're one of those people and you picked up a guitar and you're looking to really kind of improve and learn from other people and have an opportunity to go play that's a no pressure situation, definitely see if there is a guitar league near you. And if not, think about starting one and getting some people together. And so on that note, I'll do our usual closing reminders to our audience, whether you're new or returning. We have an Anchor page where you can leave us a voicemail. So if you have an idea for a future topic, or if you'd like to be a guest on a show, or we're trying to do a new segment, if you're an artist and you have a new song that you would like us to listen to and talk about on the show, reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to give it a listen and talk about it. You can reach us a few different ways. You can head to our Anchor page at anchor.fm/distortedopinions. You can leave us a voicemail. You can find links to our social media accounts on there. We're on pretty much any podcast platform at this point. So if you're watching the video version, you want to be able to listen to us on the go, just search for Distorted Opinions on your favorite podcast platform. We're also over on YouTube. If you're listening to the audio version, you want to see the video version of the show. I'm not going to post the link to that because it's really long. We need to get 100 subscribers so that we can get a nice custom URL for our channel, but just go search for Distorted Opinions over on YouTube and you'll find us. We've got a bit of a challenge that we've mentioned in previous shows, that if we get 100 subscribers, Matt, who's normally on the show with us, Matt is a big fan of the Home Depot theme song, and that's a whole long story we went into on another episode, but he has told us that he will go play the Home Depot theme song on his guitar in a Home Depot and post the video if we get 100 subscribers. So
help with that, Jim, right? We can help you get 100 subscribers. That's
just hit the subscribe button. Go find us on YouTube and hit subscribe. The other way you can reach out to us is via email. We have an email address, distortedopinionsshow@gmail.com. You can leave us a comment on any of our social media profiles. We're pretty responsive no matter how you choose to reach out to us. So with that, Jim and Paul, thank you so much for joining me this episode. It was really great getting to talk about Guitar League and sharing a bit about what Guitar League is, how people can get involved, how people can potentially start a chapter if there isn't one near them. So thank you. I appreciate you joining me. And
thank you.
To our audience, you're very welcome anytime. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week with an all-new episode of Distorted Opinions. See you then.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.